Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us here today as we take a look at World War I, talking about it in general, as well as discussing the 14 points for this unit. We're going to split this one up, Unit 6, into two different videos. So make sure you check out this one for World War I, and then our second one talking about the 14 points in the end of World War I. Overall, the purpose of our lesson here today is to talk about World War I in general, talk about how it starts, the two sides, and what's going on during this war as well. We're not going to get into specifics like major battles or anything like that, but we want to talk about big concepts, how it began, and what's happening during the war as well. For this lesson, you're going to want to read pages 233 through 246. So this covers a big part of your book in Unit 6 here, covering a bunch of different lessons towards the end. So one of the most prominent notifications of World War I is its ending. On the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, 1918, World War I comes to an end. But how does it begin? That's kind of where we want to start here. Where do we see the beginning? How does it come to this whole world of fighting, multiple nations across multiple continents getting involved? War begins. The spark of this war is going to be the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of the Austrian-Hungary Empire and his wife Sophia. He is assassinated by a terrorist group known as the Black Hands, and they are Serbian, and they are going to assassinate specifically one person. His name is Gavrilo Princip. He is the one who assassinates the Archduke and his wife. As this happens, Austria-Hungary, as you can imagine, upset because the Archduke here, he's next in line to take control. So what we're going to see happen is Austria-Hungary is going to put huge ultimatums, huge punishments against Serbia. And Serbia is not going to like that, not going to follow it, and so Serbia is going to call on their allies, one of which is Russia. And so Russia begins to step up their military preparations, getting things going, and as Russia gets things escalating, who comes to Austria-Hungary's aid? Germany. And so what we're going to see is old alliances step into and escalate this disagreement, this assassination between Austria-Hungary and Serbia. And Germany says to Russia, stop your escalation of your military. Russia doesn't listen, and so it is going to be this whole major escalation during this time period that's really going to get this war escalated and the war going. So in the beginning, for the longest time, this is a war centralized in Europe and Asia as well. And so since this is United States history, where does the U.S. come involved? Well, President Wilson, as well as most of Congress, is going to believe that the United States should have a practice of neutrality, staying out of Europe's business. However, the United States is going to be allies to England and France. They're going to help with supplies and things like that. But the United States is going to finally enter the war after a couple of different events. First of which, the Zimmermann Telegraph, January of 1917. German Arthur von Zimmermann suggested and sent a telegram to Mexico. And they suggest an alliance between Germany and Mexico. And Germany is plotting to make Mexico fight against the United States, getting the United States involved and worried about their southern border. However, this telegram is going to be intercepted by British intelligence, shared with the United States. Zimmermann proposed fighting the United States with Mexico, and in return, Mexico would give gain Texas, New Mexico, basically the American Southwest. So that's kind of one of the very first things, that Germany and these nations are plotting to bring the United States in some way. Next are the U-boat attacks. U-boats are the German submarine. And the submarine warfare, and during this time period, Germany has opened fire on non-war type vessels, shipping boats, going in and out of England and France. One of those boats, the Lusitania, is going to be a British ship, but it had American people on it. 1,198 people drowned. 198 of those are Americans. So that gets people upset. And then on top of it, after that, Germany is going to increase its attack on ships going in and out of Germany. And that's going to lead to 8 United States ships being sunk. And so this is a steady incline of attack on those ships that are eventually going to bring the United States into war and into fighting. And on March 31st, 1917, Wilson is going to ask Congress for a declaration of war, especially after hearing about the telegram by Zimmerman. So as the United States enters the war, they're going to enter the side of the Allied powers, also known as the Triple Entente during World War I. The Allied powers are going to be that of Britain, France, during this point, Italy, Russia, Japan, and even the United States. So we have those groups coming together. And then in green on our map here, we have what we call the Central Powers. This is going to be Germany, Austria-Hungary, the Ottoman or Turkish empires, as well as a lot of different space there in between. Where we see the pink are your neutral nations. Spain, Norway, Sweden, Switzerland, of course, always neutral. Netherlands as well. And you can see from our map here, we see the extent of kind of the fighting that's happening in Central Europe during this time period. We see fighting extending into Serbia, Romania, present-day Ukraine, and Western Russia today, and all the way into France as well. So the United States, when they get entered into this war, enters into the war late. And this war is going to be a long and difficult war. Many believe that the war is going to be quick. Many people do. However, more than 9 million soldiers die. It is estimated that 20 million people, civilians and soldiers, die during World War I. It is a mixture of old style of fighting mixed with brand new technologies that are far advanced than ever seen before. So we have submarines with torpedoes, poison gas, machine guns, airplanes, cars being used for the first time in war efforts. Use of trains as well, which we saw during the Civil War, but it really gets things going and moved into this phase of new technology, movement of troops, soldiers overall. And this is an old style of fighting, meeting on battlefields, open fields, which is going to lead to a lot of deaths and destructions. But it also leads to what we call trench warfare. Trench warfare is where we see the United States and England, France, Germany literally dig trenches where they are able to protect themselves. And this happens throughout France, throughout other locations. They dig trenches, and this land in between the two sides, the Allied powers and the Central powers, becomes no man's land. It is a land filled with dangerous barbed wire. You are most certainly left uncovered, meaning you have no protection, and there are weapons pointed at you all the time and anybody coming across. And this is going to lead to terrible casualties are going to be sustained in these open warfare. And troops throughout years make it only a few feet. They're unable to make any real advances once they dig in. So trench warfare is going to be one of the hallmarks of World War I. And as we take a look here, World War I is going to continue and fight and really cause a lot of devastation throughout Europe and throughout the world because so many other nations are involved. And so that's going to bring us to the end here for a recording of just the World War I part, our sides, who's involved, and how the war got started. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to let your teacher know. Keep up the great work. Bye for now.